I'm Stephanie Miller, 34, and last year my digital marketing company was valued at $38 million. Yet my father still called it my fake internet job at our family Thanksgiving. The same dismissive tone he'd used since I started my business 10 years earlier. Success should have been enough validation, but that empty feeling persisted every time he rolled his eyes at my career. The millions in my bank account couldn't heal what his words had broken. Before I tell you how I finally stood up to my dad at last year's Thanksgiving dinner, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button because this story about family, validation, and success is one you'll want to share with anyone who's ever doubted your dreams. Growing up in Whitefish, Montana shaped everything about me. Our small town of 7,000 people had traditional values deeply embedded in its culture, and no one embodied those more than my father, Thomas Miller. Dad built his construction company from nothing, working with his hands every day for 30 years. He prided himself on creating real things: houses, office buildings, community centers, things you could touch, see, and that would last for generations. My mother Grace supported him completely, managing the books for his business while raising me and my two brothers. From my earliest memories, I knew my father valued tangible accomplishments. When I was 12, I created my first online business, a simple Etsy shop selling handmade bracelets I crafted from local Montana stones. After making my first $50, I proudly showed Dad my store on the family computer. "That's nice, Steph," he said, barely glancing at the screen. "But when are you going to do something real? This computer stuff is just playing around." His words stung, but I kept the shop going anyway, making enough to buy my own school clothes that year. Mom would secretly help me package orders when Dad wasn't around. By high school, I'd developed a reputation as the tech-savvy kid. I built websites for local businesses for extra money, charging $200 per site, a fortune to a teenager. Dad called it messing with computers and encouraged me to get a proper summer job at the local hardware store like my brothers. When college application time came, I wanted to study business at the University of Montana. Dad insisted on accounting. "At least that's a real skill," he said. "People will always need accountants. This internet stuff is just a passing fad." I compromised by double majoring, but poured my real passion into my business courses. College opened a whole new world. While my classmates partied, I ran social media accounts for campus organizations, learning about engagement, content creation, and analytics. By junior year, I was making $1,000 monthly managing social media for local Missoula businesses. Professor Karen Blake noticed my side hustle and became my first true mentor. "Stephanie, you have natural marketing instincts," she told me after class one day. "Digital is where everything is heading. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." When I graduated in 2012, the economy was still recovering from the recession. Dad leveraged his connections to get me an interview at Montana First Bank in Whitefish. "A stable job with benefits," he said proudly. "That's what a real career looks like." I took the bank job as a customer service representative, but my heart wasn't in it. Every evening after my shift, I'd work on building my marketing skills, taking online courses, and managing social media accounts for small businesses. My boss at the bank, Harold, noticed my fatigue and called me into his office. "You're doing two jobs, aren't you?" he asked. I nodded, expecting a reprimand. Instead, he surprised me. "My daughter's the same way with her photography business. Sometimes the side hustle is actually your true calling." 8 months into my banking career, I met Jessica Walsh at a Chamber of Commerce event. She ran a small marketing agency in neighboring Kalispell and was looking for help with her growing client list. "I'll pay you $45,000 plus commission," she offered after seeing my portfolio. It was slightly less than my bank salary, but included the freedom to grow. I accepted immediately. When I told my father I was quitting the bank, he was furious. "You're throwing away job security for what? Posting pictures on Facebook?" He slammed his fist on the dining table. "No one makes a living doing that, Stephanie." My first year at Jessica's agency was transformative. I absorbed everything about digital marketing, SEO, content creation, paid advertising, analytics, I stayed late studying client accounts, identifying patterns that increased engagement and conversion. Jessica noticed my dedication and gave me more responsibility, eventually putting me in charge of our largest client, a regional hotel chain. When my strategic campaign increased their bookings by 32% in 3 months, the client's CEO personally called to congratulate me. That moment changed everything. I realized I had a valuable skill in an emerging field. Regardless of what my father thought, the agency grew rapidly, and so did my confidence. By the end of my second year, I was managing 5 major accounts worth over $500,000 in annual revenue. Jessica offered me a partnership stake, but a different idea had been forming in my mind. I wanted to build something of my own. After a particularly successful campaign for a luxury resort that generated $1.2 million in new bookings, I knew it was time. I had developed my own approach to digital marketing for hospitality businesses, and there was a gap in the market for specialized services. With Jessica's blessing and some tears, I decided to launch my own company. "You'll be amazing," Jessica said during our goodbye lunch. "But brace yourself. Building a business is the hardest thing you'll ever do." I had no idea how right she would be. In January 2014, at 25 years old, I founded Digital Edge Marketing with $12,000 in savings and a mountain of determination. My apartment's second bedroom became my office, with a simple desk from IKEA and a whiteboard where I mapped out my business plan. My focus would be digital marketing specifically tailored for hospitality and tourism businesses, a niche I understood well from my agency experience. The first 3 months were terrifying. I lived on ramen noodles and coffee, working 18-hour days building my website, creating service packages, and developing pitching materials. My father's words echoed in my head during moments of doubt. "That internet stuff won't last." I channeled that doubt into motivation. My first client came through a cold email campaign to 50 local restaurants. Whitefish Lake Restaurant took a chance on me with a modest $1,500 monthly contract. I poured everything into their campaign, redesigning their social media presence, creating a content calendar, implementing targeted ads to tourists planning Montana vacations. After 2 months, their reservation bookings increased by 200%, and they signed a larger 6-month contract. When I called my parents to share the news, Mom was encouraging, but Dad remained skeptical. "That's nice, honey, but that internet stuff is just a fad," he said. "These restaurants will realize they're wasting money eventually. You should apply for that management position at the bank while it's still open." His dismissal hurt, but with one success under my belt, I pushed harder. I created case studies from my agency experience, with Jessica's permission, and my restaurant client, positioning myself as a specialist in hospitality marketing. This targeted approach worked. I landed 2 more clients by month 4. The early days weren't all success stories. I severely underpriced my services, working countless hours for minimal profit. One client demanded endless revisions, consuming so much time I couldn't pursue new business. Another refused to pay an invoice, claiming they didn't see results after just 2 weeks. I learned harsh lessons about contracts, setting boundaries, and qualifying clients. My breakthrough came when I developed a specialized social media campaign strategy for restaurants that showcase their food, ambiance, and chef stories through structured content series. This formula proved remarkably effective, increasing engagement by an average of 317% across clients. Word spread quickly in our small tourism-dependent community. By month 8, I had 7 regular clients, and more work than I could handle alone. I took a leap of faith and hired my first employee, Megan, a recent marketing graduate. We worked side by side in my apartment until my landlord complained about the commercial activity. With barely enough revenue to cover expenses, I signed a lease on a tiny 400 square foot office in downtown Whitefish. The day I put the Digital Edge Marketing sign on the door was momentous. I took a photo and sent it to my parents, inviting them to see my new business space. Mom came right away, bringing curtains she'd sewn and a plant for my desk. Dad stopped by a week later, glancing around the modest space with pursed lips. "Well, it's something," he said, hands in his pockets. "At least you have a real office now, not just computer stuff. Though I still don't understand what you actually do all day." I tried explaining analytics, conversion optimization, and content strategy, but his eyes glazed over. As he left, he patted my shoulder and said, "I hope this works out until you find something permanent." That evening, I cried from frustration, then channeled it into a strategic pivot. Looking at my client data, I realized luxury hospitality businesses saw the highest ROI from my services. Their affluent customers made purchasing decisions based on digital presence, and they had bigger marketing budgets. I decided to focus exclusively on high-end hospitality. I created detailed pitches for the top luxury resorts in Montana and neighboring Wyoming and Idaho. After dozens of rejections, Granite Peak Lodge, a luxury ski resort, took a meeting. Their marketing director was impressed by my specialized approach and signed a $10,000 monthly contract, more than double my previous largest client. That account changed everything. Their success attracted attention from similar properties, and within 6 months, I had 5 luxury hospitality clients. I hired 2 more employees, a content specialist and an ads manager. Our tiny office was now cramped with desks. By the end of year 2, Digital Edge had grown to 5 employees with annual revenue approaching $500,000. A local business publication featured us in their Companies to Watch section. The article mentioned our projected growth and estimated company value of approximately $1.2 million based on industry multiples. I framed the article and proudly showed it to my father during Sunday dinner. "That's nice, Steph," he said, barely glancing at it. "Anyone can get in magazines these days. These internet valuations aren't real anyway. Not like property or equipment. You're just playing around online." His words still had the power to deflate me despite my growing success. Mom later called to say she was proud of me, but worried about the tension between Dad and me. "He means well," she insisted. "He just wants security for you." What neither of them understood was that I had sacrificed everything for this business. My social life had disappeared. I worked 80-hour weeks, often sleeping on the office couch. I'd ended a promising relationship because I didn't have time to nurture it. Every penny of profit went back into the company. This wasn't playing around. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But the results spoke for themselves. By our 3rd year, Digital Edge had become the go-to marketing partner for luxury hospitality businesses in the Northern Rockies. What my father called playing around online was transforming how these companies connected with customers and dramatically increasing their revenue. As 2017 began, Digital Edge was at a critical turning point. Our client results were impressive, but I knew we needed to innovate to truly scale. After analyzing thousands of campaigns, I identified a major gap in the hospitality industry. They lacked proper tools to measure digital marketing's impact on actual bookings. Working nights and weekends with a freelance developer, we created Host Connect, a proprietary analytics platform that tracked the customer journey from initial ad impression to final booking. This allowed us to demonstrate clear ROI for every marketing dollar spent, something our competitors couldn't offer. When we presented Host Connect to existing clients, they were amazed. The Elkhorn Ranch Resort immediately doubled their monthly budget. 3 other properties followed suit. This platform transformed our business from a service provider to a technology-enabled marketing partner. With this competitive advantage, I expanded our service offerings beyond social media to include comprehensive digital marketing, search engine optimization, content creation, email marketing, paid advertising, and influencer partnerships. Each new service increased our clients' average monthly spend from $10,000 to $25,000. Our team grew to 15 people, including specialists in each service area. We outgrew our small office and moved to a proper commercial space in downtown Whitefish, an entire floor with mountain views and a professional reception area. The monthly rent was more than my entire first year's apartment lease, a fact that both terrified and exhilarated me. Our success began attracting attention beyond Montana. Digital Marketing Monthly featured me in their 30 Under 30 list, calling Digital Edge the future of specialized industry marketing. The exposure brought inquiries from hospitality businesses nationwide. When the magazine arrived, I brought it to Sunday dinner at my parents' house. "Look, Dad, they featured me in this national publication," I said, trying to keep the desperate need for approval out of my voice. He flipped through it quickly, then set it aside. "Anyone can get in a magazine these days. They just want you to buy advertising." I tried explaining it wasn't a paid placement, but he had already changed the subject to my brother's promotion at his accounting firm. Later that evening, Mom pulled me aside in the kitchen. "I'm so proud of you, Stephanie," she whispered, glancing toward the living room where Dad was watching television. "I read the article online. It's impressive what you've built." "Then why doesn't he see it?" I asked, fighting back tears. "Your father comes from a different world," she said. "He understands building things with his hands. This digital world it frightens him a bit, makes him feel obsolete." Her insight helped, but the pain of his dismissal remained. I channeled that pain into ambition, determined to build something so successful that even my father couldn't diminish it. That opportunity came when Pinnacle Hotels, a major national chain, approached us after seeing our case studies. They were struggling with digital marketing for their 37 luxury properties and wanted our specialized approach. The six-figure contract we signed doubled our company valuation overnight to nearly $10 million. My personal net worth on paper had reached $8 million, though it was all tied up in company equity. With Pinnacle's backing, we expanded internationally, opening satellite offices in Vancouver and London to support their properties in those regions. Each morning, I woke up to emails from team members across different time zones. A surreal experience for someone whose father still thought I was just posting on Facebook. The growth brought new challenges. The pressure of managing a rapidly expanding company took a toll. I developed insomnia, often working until 3 a.m., then lying awake worrying about payroll, client expectations, and cash flow. Anxiety became my constant companion. During one particularly stressful week, I had my first panic attack during a client meeting. After that scary experience, I finally sought therapy. Dr. Melissa Chambers helped me recognize how much of my drive stemmed from seeking validation I never received from my father. "Success won't heal that wound," she told me gently. "Only confronting it directly can do that." I wasn't ready for that confrontation yet. Instead, I focused on what I could control, building an undeniably successful company. By 2018, Digital Edge reached $5 million in annual revenue, with 20 employees across 3 offices. We were featured in major business publications, and I was invited to speak at industry conferences. Our client list included some of the most prestigious hotel brands in North America and Europe. At a hospitality technology conference in San Francisco, I met Andrew Harris, a software entrepreneur who understood the tech world and appreciated what I'd built. Our connection was immediate and refreshing. Here was someone who saw my work as valuable and innovative rather than a computer game. Our relationship developed quickly, offering a personal happiness I'd neglected while building my company. Andrew became my biggest supporter, encouraging me to embrace my achievements rather than constantly seeking external validation. "You've built something remarkable, Steph," he would say. "Your father's opinion doesn't change that reality." For the first time, I began to believe that might be true. But the ultimate test of that belief would come sooner than I expected. In early 2019, I made a decision that would transform Digital Edge from a successful boutique agency into a major industry player. Our Host Connect analytics platform had given us valuable insights into hospitality marketing trends, and I saw an opportunity to leverage artificial intelligence to revolutionize how hotels acquired and retained customers. I assembled a specialized team of data scientists and developers to create Market AI, an AI-powered marketing automation platform specifically designed for luxury hospitality. The system would analyze millions of customer interactions to predict behavior, personalize marketing messages, and optimize spending in real time. The development costs were substantial, over $2 million, more than all our company's profits to date. We needed outside capital for the first time. After countless pitches to venture capital firms, we secured $10 million in funding in exchange for 12% equity, valuing Digital Edge at $83 million. My personal stake was worth approximately $25 million on paper. The investment allowed us to accelerate development and expand our team to 50 employees across offices in Whitefish, Vancouver, London, and a new location in Austin. We leased a stunning headquarters in downtown Whitefish, a beautiful timber-framed building with views of the mountains where I'd grown up. The local paper ran a front-page story about the hometown success, bringing tech jobs to Montana. With financial security came personal milestones as well. I purchased a home in Malibu as a weekend retreat, a modern glass and steel structure overlooking the Pacific that cost more than my father's entire construction business was worth. I didn't buy it to show off, but rather as a quiet place to decompress from the mounting pressures of running a rapidly growing company. My rising profile in the tech industry led to invitations to speak at major conferences. At the International Hospitality Technology Summit in Dubai, I presented our AI innovations to an audience of industry leaders. The Wall Street Journal covered the event, mentioning Digital Edge as a disruptive force in hospitality marketing, led by visionary CEO Stephanie Miller. I sent the article to my parents, still hoping for that elusive validation. Mom called immediately, excited and proud. Dad's response came days later, via Mom's phone during Sunday dinner. "Saw your computer thing in the paper," he said, barely looking up from his pot roast. Pretty fancy words they used. "When are you coming home for Christmas this year?" The subject change stung, but I'd grown somewhat accustomed to his dismissals. What I wasn't prepared for was what happened at the actual Christmas dinner 3 weeks later. As the family gathered around the table in my parents' home, the same house where I'd grown up, Dad raised his glass for a toast. "To family and tradition," he said warmly. "To doing honest work and building things that last." He looked pointedly at my brother Mark, who had recently taken over managing several projects at Dad's construction company. "Some of us understand the value of creating something real, something you can touch. Not just playing around on computers and calling it work." The table fell silent. Mom looked mortified. My siblings stared at their plates. "Dad," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "Digital Edge employs 50 people. We're bringing tech jobs to Whitefish. How is that not real?" He waved his hand dismissively. "Those internet businesses come and go. No foundation. Not like building something with your hands." The argument escalated, with years of hurt bubbling to the surface. I finally left early, spending Christmas night alone in my childhood bedroom at a nearby hotel, feeling like a failure despite my millions. Andrew was supportive throughout the holiday crisis, even proposing on New Year's Eve with a beautiful emerald ring. "You're the most impressive person I've ever known," he said as we celebrated on my Malibu deck. "Your father will see it someday." I wanted to believe him, but the wound felt deeper than ever. I threw myself back into work, focusing on the upcoming launch of Market AI. In March 2019, we unveiled the platform at the American Hotel and Lodging Association conference. The response exceeded our wildest expectations. Within 3 months, we signed licensing agreements with 15 major hotel chains, representing over 3,000 properties worldwide. Market AI won the Hospitality Technology Innovation Award that summer, and our company valuation soared to $120 million. The success should have felt validating, but during quiet moments, I still heard my father's dismissive tone. My therapist helped me recognize this as a form of imposter syndrome, compounded by my father's lifelong disapproval. "You've built this incredible business," Dr. Chambers pointed out, "but you're still measuring your worth through your father's eyes." She was right, but understanding the problem didn't solve it. During one particularly vulnerable therapy session, I admitted something I'd never said aloud. "Part of me built this entire company just to prove him wrong. What does that say about me?" Despite my personal struggles, I made a gesture I hoped might bridge the gap with my parents. I purchased a beautiful new home for them, a custom-built timber frame house on 5 acres outside Whitefish, with a dedicated workshop for my father's woodworking hobby. When I presented them with the keys, Mom cried with gratitude. Dad examined the craftsmanship silently, finally muttering, "The contractor did decent work." He never acknowledged the fact that his fake internet job daughter had bought it for them. Later that night, Mom called. "He won't say it, Stephanie, but he's amazed you could do this," she whispered. "He was showing the house plans to his friends at the diner this morning. I think he's struggling with his pride." It was a small breakthrough, but not the validation I'd been seeking for so long. Meanwhile, Market AI's success continued to transform our business. We launched a mobile client app that allowed hotel managers to monitor marketing performance in real time. This innovation pushed our valuation to $150 million, making my personal stake worth approximately $38 million. I'd achieved more financial success than anyone in my family could have imagined. I'd built a company that was changing an entire industry. Yet whenever I visited home, I still felt like that 12-year-old girl being told her online bracelet shop wasn't real work. In late 2019, our meteoric rise hit its first major obstacle. Globe Connect, one of our largest competitors, launched a platform suspiciously similar to Market AI, offering it at predatory pricing to undercut us. Simultaneously, market analysts began predicting a travel industry slowdown, causing several potential clients to delay signing contracts. For the first time, our monthly cash flow turned negative. We were burning through our investment capital faster than projected, with development costs for platform upgrades exceeding estimates. What had seemed like unlimited growth suddenly felt precarious. During our executive team meeting, our CFO Rachel presented the sobering numbers. "At current burn rate, we have runway for 8 months," she explained. "We need to either cut costs significantly or secure additional funding." The timing couldn't have been worse for fundraising. Venture capital firms were becoming cautious about hospitality technology investments given market projections. We faced an impossible choice: lay off team members or risk the entire company's future. With a heavy heart, I approved a restructuring plan that eliminated 10 positions, our first ever layoffs. Delivering the news to people who had believed in our vision was gut-wrenching. Though we provided generous severance packages, the guilt weighed heavily on me. News of our difficulties spread quickly through Whitefish's small business community and inevitably reached my father. He called unexpectedly one evening as I was working late at the office. "Heard you're having trouble with your internet business," he said, an unmistakable note of satisfaction in his voice. "This is what happens with these trendy tech things. They're not built on anything solid." I gripped the phone tightly. "We're navigating a temporary market adjustment, Dad. Every business faces challenges. Real businesses with real products survive downturns," he replied. "These internet fads come and go. Maybe it's time to consider something more stable." After hanging up, I sat alone in my office, staring at the awards and magazine covers framed on the wall. For the first time, doubt crept in. Maybe he was right. Maybe everything I'd built was as insubstantial as he claimed. The following Sunday, Mom invited me for dinner, just the two of us. Dad was at a construction industry event. Over homemade lasagna, she expressed her concerns. "Your father spoke with Harold at the bank," she said. "He thinks you should consider their offer for a marketing director position. It comes with benefits and a pension." The suggestion that I should abandon my $120 million company for a bank marketing job was so absurd I nearly laughed. But the underlying message was clear. Neither of my parents truly understood what I'd built. Andrew suggested a different approach to our troubles. "What about a merger with travel tech?" he proposed during dinner at my Malibu home. "They've been interested for months. A merger would provide stability during this downturn." The idea had merit. Travel tech was larger, with complementary services but less advanced technology. A merger would likely value Digital Edge at around $60 million DNA. A significant drop from our peak, but still substantial. I spent sleepless nights weighing the option. Selling would provide security and vindicate my father's predictions about internet businesses being temporary. Pushing forward independently meant greater risk, but maintained our vision. The decision consumed me. I canceled meetings, snapped at team members, and began having panic attacks again. Andrew became increasingly frustrated with my indecision and obsession with proving my father wrong. "This isn't just about the business anymore, Steph," he said during one particularly tense discussion. "You're making major company decisions based on a personal vendetta. It's not healthy." He was right, but I couldn't separate my identity from the company I'd built. After one especially heated argument about the merger possibility, Andrew delivered an ultimatum. "I want a partner who's building a life with me, not just fighting old family battles," he said quietly. "I love you, but I can't compete with this need to prove yourself to your father." 2 days later, he moved out, another casualty of my single-minded focus on business success and paternal validation. The personal and professional crises culminated in a breaking point. I booked a remote cabin in Glacier National Park and took a week alone to reconsider everything: my company direction, personal priorities, and the route of my drive. In that quiet space, surrounded by Montana's rugged wilderness, clarity emerged. I'd been defining success through my father's narrow lens, seeking validation he might never give. Meanwhile, I'd built something truly valuable, not just financially, but in the jobs created, the innovation delivered, and the industry transformed. On the 5th day, inspiration struck. The travel market was changing, but our core technology had applications beyond just marketing. What if we pivoted Market AI toward enterprise-level customer intelligence that hotels could use across their entire operation? I called Rachel and our CTO, Michael, outlining a bold pivot strategy. Rather than retreating, we would expand Market AI's capabilities to help hospitality companies navigate the changing market by optimizing every aspect of their customer experience. The pivot would require additional investment at precisely the time when capital was hardest to secure. After exhausting traditional options, I met with Blackridge Partners, a venture capital firm known for tough terms but deep industry connections. Their offer was brutal. $15 million for 25% equity at a $60 million valuation, half what we'd been worth months earlier. The deal would dilute my ownership significantly, but it would give us runway to execute the pivot. To show my commitment, I personally invested $5 million of my savings back into the company, declining my salary for 6 months. This gesture rallied our remaining team. We initiated what we called Operation Phoenix, an intensive 90-day innovation sprint to transform Market AI into an enterprise customer intelligence platform. For 3 months, our office lights burned 24/7. Team members worked extraordinary hours, fueled by takeout meals and determination. I led by example, often sleeping on the office couch rather than going home. By December 2019, we had completely rebuilt Market AI with expanded capabilities that addressed the entire customer journey, from initial marketing touchpoints through booking, on-property experience, and long-term loyalty. The platform now provided predictive analytics that helped hotels optimize pricing, staffing, amenities, and personalized guest experiences. As we prepared for the relaunch, I received a text from Andrew. "I heard about the pivot. Brave move. Wishing you success." I appreciated his support but recognized we had grown apart. His desire for a partner more focused on personal life than business ambition was valid. My company needed my full attention to survive this crisis. What I didn't yet understand was that weathering this storm would ultimately lead to both professional triumph and personal revelation, including a long overdue confrontation with my father. January 2020 marked a new beginning for Digital Edge. We unveiled the reimagined Market AI platform at the International Hospitality Forum in Las Vegas, positioning it as an enterprise solution rather than just a marketing tool. The comprehensive approach resonated with industry executives facing their own market challenges. Lux Worldwide Hotels, a Fortune 500 company operating 200-plus luxury properties globally, signed on as our first enterprise client with a $2 million annual contract. Their CEO publicly endorsed our platform. Market AI doesn't just optimize marketing, It transforms how we understand and serve our guests across every touchpoint. This high-profile validation catalyzed a rapid turnaround. Within 3 months, we signed 5 more enterprise clients, putting the company back on solid financial ground. The team that had sacrificed so much during our pivot felt a renewed sense of purpose and pride. I worked to rebuild our company culture after the layoffs and uncertainty. We instituted Transparency Thursdays, where I shared detailed business updates and honestly addressed challenges. We celebrated small wins and supported each other through setbacks. The crisis had forged a resilient team culture that became one of our greatest strengths. Recognizing my own leadership limitations, I invested in executive coaching with Dr. Eliza Washington, a former tech CEO turned business psychologist. She helped me distinguish between decisive leadership and controlling behavior, teaching me to delegate more effectively and trust my team. Your need to control everything stems from fear, she observed during one session. Fear of failure, certainly, but more deeply, fear of proving your father right. This insight prompted difficult self-reflection. How much of my leadership approach was reactive to my father's criticism rather than what the company truly needed? I began consciously separating these influences, making decisions based on business merit rather than emotional drivers. Our strategic pivot gained industry attention. Tech Business Today published a feature titled Digital Edge, the comeback story redefining hospitality tech. The article detailed our near collapse and impressive recovery through innovation and leadership. I sent the article to my parents, still harboring that childlike hope for acknowledgement. Mom called immediately. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You faced such challenges with grace." Dad's response came days later via a brief text. "Saw your article. Glad the computer business is doing better." Better. Not well, not impressively, just better. The faint praise felt as dismissive as his outright criticism had before. The following week, Mom called with surprising news. "I stood up to your father," she said, her voice a mix of pride and nervousness. "I told him he needs to acknowledge your accomplishments. He didn't take it well." This unexpected defense created new tension in my parents' marriage. Dad accused Mom of taking Stephanie's side against him. For the first time in their 40-year marriage, they were having serious arguments, partly because of me. While navigating this family dynamic, I met David Parker at an industry conference in Chicago. Unlike Andrew, who came from traditional banking, David had built and sold 2 tech companies. He innately understood the entrepreneurial journey and its sacrifices. Our connection was immediate and refreshing. He asked thoughtful questions about market AI's architecture rather than just the business metrics. On our 3rd date, he confessed to researching our technology in depth. "What you've built is genuinely innovative," he said. "The way you integrated predictive analytics with operational applications is something no one else has executed successfully in hospitality." His understanding of my work and appreciation for the technical achievements, not just the business success, felt like the validation I'd been seeking from my father for years. As our relationship developed, Digital Edge continued its remarkable recovery. By mid-2020, we had not only regained our market position but strengthened it. Our enterprise-focused approach proved more resilient than our previous marketing-only strategy. Company valuation rebounded to $150 million, restoring my personal net worth to approximately $38 million. My growing industry influence led to regular speaking engagements. At the Future of Hospitality conference in Singapore, I presented our vision for AI-driven guest experiences. The audience included executives from major Asian hotel groups, opening opportunities in that rapidly growing market. Following the conference, we established a partnership with Harmony Hotels, giving us entry into markets across Japan, South Korea, and Singapore. This expansion occurred as our competitors were still contracting due to market conditions, positioning us for industry leadership once travel fully rebounded. As the business thrived, I made a significant financial decision, using our improved position to buy out our original investors at a premium. This increased my ownership stake substantially while providing them an excellent return. The move gave us more control over our future direction and protected us from pressure to pursue short-term gains over long-term innovation. Shortly after completing the buyout, we received an unexpected approach from TechVision, one of the world's largest technology companies. They were interested in potentially acquiring Digital Edge to expand their hospitality vertical. Their initial assessment valued the company at nearly $300 million, far exceeding our previous peak. While flattering, the approach prompted serious reflection. Was I building this company to sell it? Or did I have a longer-term vision? David provided valuable perspective from his experience selling his companies. The question isn't about the exit, he said as we discussed the option over dinner. It's about impact. Where can your technology make the greatest difference? Under your control or theirs? As I weighed this question, I realized something profound. Despite all the success, awards, and financial validation, I still hadn't resolved my deepest motivation, proving my worth to my father. This revelation was simultaneously obvious and shocking. I had built a $300 million company, largely driven by the need to prove wrong a man who might never be convinced. With this clarity came a decision. Before determining Digital Edge's future, I needed to address my past. It was finally time for an honest conversation with my father, one without the subtext and passive aggression that had characterized our relationship for decades. The opportunity came sooner than expected, at the annual Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house. What transpired that evening would change everything. Not just my relationship with my father, but my understanding of success itself. Last year's Thanksgiving arrived, with its usual mix of anticipation and dread. I drove to my parents' home in the mountains outside Whitefish, the beautiful timber house I'd purchased for them 2 years earlier. David offered to join me, but this felt like something I needed to face alone. The familiar scene greeted me. Mom bustling in the kitchen, the scent of roasting turkey filling the air, Dad in his favorite chair watching football. My brothers Mark and Jason were there with their wives and children, creating the picture-perfect family holiday image that always felt slightly off-kilter to me. The tech mogul has arrived, Mark joked as I entered, a comment that could be taken as either teasing or slightly resentful. As the eldest son who had followed in Dad's footsteps at the construction company, Mark had always received the approval I craved. Dinner progressed with the usual small talk, the children's school achievements, local gossip, and updates on relatives. I shared some sanitized news about Digital Edge's international expansion, carefully avoiding technical details that would typically trigger Dad's dismissive reactions. When the pumpkin pie was served, Dad stood to offer his annual Thanksgiving toast, crystal tumbler of bourbon raised high. His imposing figure, still strong at 68 despite gray hair and weathered skin from decades of outdoor work, commanded attention as always. "I'm thankful for this family and our traditions," he began, his deep voice filling the dining room, "for the values of hard work and building something real that we've passed down through generations." He nodded toward Mark. "I'm proud to see those values continuing in the construction business, creating structures that will stand long after we're gone." He paused, taking a sip of bourbon before continuing. "In a world where too many people chase easy money and internet fads, it's good to see some still appreciate honest work." The pointed comment hung in the air. Mom shifted uncomfortably. My sister-in-law stared at her plate. This wasn't his usual subtle dig. This was a direct shot. Something inside me snapped. Perhaps it was the accumulation of years of dismissal, or maybe it was the newfound clarity about my motivations. Whatever the cause, I knew this moment would define our relationship moving forward. I set down my fork deliberately and met his gaze. "Dad," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I need to address what you just said and what you've been saying for years." The room fell silent. Dad looked surprised. I had never directly challenged him before. "For 10 years, you've dismissed my business as a fake internet job or a computer game or a lucky scheme," I continued. "I've tried to show you its legitimacy through magazine features, awards, and financial success. Nothing has changed your mind." Dad started to interrupt, but I held up my hand. "Please let me finish. I respect what you've built. Your construction company employed dozens of people and created beautiful buildings throughout Montana. That's a significant achievement. I took a deep breath before continuing. But I need you to understand what I've built. Digital Edge employs over 60 people worldwide, more than your construction company ever did. We pay competitive salaries with full benefits, creating careers in technology right here in Whitefish. Our platform helps hundreds of hotels worldwide better serve millions of guests annually. I pulled out my phone and opened our company dashboard. Last month alone, our technology processed over $300 million in hotel revenue. We're not just playing on computers, we're building tools that transform how an entire industry operates. Dad's expression remained stoic, but I noticed a flicker of something in his eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or uncertainty. For years, I've been trying to translate my success into terms you'd understand and respect. I bought this house hoping you'd see the tangible result of my work. I've downplayed the technical aspects of what we do, trying to make it relatable. My voice cracked slightly. But the truth is, Dad, your constant dismissal has been deeply painful. I've built a company valued at $300 million largely to prove you wrong. And that's a terrible reason to build anything. Mom was crying quietly now. My brothers looked stunned. Dad's face had flushed red. You don't get to talk to me that way in my house, he said, voice rising. It's technically my house, I replied, immediately regretting the petty comment. I'm sorry, that was uncalled for. But I'm not sorry for defending my work and my team. Whether you understand or value what we do doesn't change its worth. Dad pushed back his chair abruptly and stood. 34 years old and still throwing tantrums when you don't get praise, he muttered, walking out to his workshop behind the house. The table remained silent after his exit. Finally, Mom spoke. He's proud of you, Stephanie, she said quietly. He just doesn't understand your world, and that scares him. Being scared doesn't excuse being cruel, I replied, the years of hurt evident in my voice. To my surprise, Mark nodded. She's right, Mom. Dad's been unfair about Steph's business for years. We all know it. After helping clear the dishes, I decided to follow Dad to his workshop, the place he retreated when emotions ran high. The familiar scent of sawdust and varnish greeted me as I entered. Dad was sanding a rocking chair, his back to the door. I'm not apologizing, I said, closing the door behind me. He continued sanding for a moment before responding. Didn't expect you to. I watched him work, his hands moving with the practiced precision of decades at his craft. Despite everything, I admired his skill and dedication. Why can't you acknowledge what I've built? I asked finally. Is it because you don't understand the technology? He set down the sandpaper and turned to face me. For the first time, I noticed how much older he looked. The deep lines around his eyes, the slight stoop to his formerly straight shoulders. You want to know the truth? He asked, his voice uncharacteristically vulnerable. Every day I drive into town, I pass that fancy glass office building with your company's name on it. I see young people coming and going, all working for my daughter. They're doing things on computers I can't begin to comprehend. He ran a hand through his gray hair. My own daughter built something I don't understand. Something that makes my life's work look obsolete. The admission stunned me. Dad, that's not... The world changed, he interrupted. Everything I taught you about work and value and building things that last, it all seems outdated now. What does a man who spent 40 years swinging hammers know about artificial intelligence and digital whatever? For the first time, I saw not disapproval in his eyes, but fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of a changing world where his skills and wisdom no longer commanded respect. Your business isn't fake, he admitted quietly. I know that. It's my understanding that's inadequate. The vulnerability in his confession disarmed me completely. All these years, I'd interpreted his dismissal as judgment of my choices, when it was really about his own insecurities. Dad, construction and digital technology aren't that different, I said, picking up a piece of wood from his workbench. You taught me that proper planning prevents poor performance. You showed me that the foundation determines everything that follows. Those principles guide my business every day. His eyebrows raised slightly. The tools are different, but the craftsmanship is the same, I continued. You build with lumber and nails. I build with code and data. But we're both creating something that serves people's needs. For the first time in my adult life, I saw my father nod with something approaching understanding. I don't need you to fully comprehend what Digital Edge does, I said. I just need you to trust that I applied the work ethic and integrity you taught me. He was quiet for a long moment before speaking. I do trust that, he said finally. And I am proud of you, Stephanie. I should have said it before. Those simple words, I am proud of you, unlocked something that millions of dollars, magazine covers, and industry accolades never could. As we stood in his workshop surrounded by the projects of his hands, something began to heal between us. It wasn't a complete resolution. Decades of misunderstanding couldn't be erased in one conversation. But it was a beginning, the first honest exchange we'd had about my career and his response to it. As I drove back to my apartment that night, I realized the validation I'd been seeking had finally come. Not because I'd finally impressed him with my success, but because we'd both been honest about our fears and perceptions. The confrontation I'd dreaded for so long had become the first step toward genuine understanding, and that understanding would shape the decisions I made in the months ahead. 1 month after our Thanksgiving confrontation, an unexpected visitor arrived at Digital Edge's headquarters. My assistant Julia knocked on my office door, her expression confused. "Your father is in the lobby," she said. "He doesn't have an appointment, but he's asking for a tour." I found Dad standing awkwardly in our reception area, wearing his best flannel shirt and looking distinctly out of place among the modern furnishings and tech industry aesthetic. "Thought I should see what you've built," he said by way of greeting. "If that's all right." The simple gesture, him coming to my territory, seeking to understand, meant more than he could know. "I'd be honored to show you around," I replied, fighting back unexpected emotion. We spent 2 hours walking through every department. I introduced him to team members, explained our workflow in non-technical terms, and demonstrated Market AI's capabilities on the massive screens in our development lab. He asked surprisingly thoughtful questions and listened attentively to the answers. In the data analytics department, our chief data scientist, Brandon, explained how we processed millions of customer interactions to identify patterns. Dad nodded, then made an unexpected connection. "So it's like reading the grain in lumber," he said, "finding the natural patterns to determine the best approach." Brandon lit up. "That's actually a perfect analogy, Mr. Miller. We're looking for the natural patterns in the data." As we completed the tour in my office, Dad studied the awards and magazine covers on the wall. "Your mother would love a copy of that business journal feature," he said, pointing to a framed cover with my photo. "She's been telling all her friends about it." 2 weeks later, I overheard him at the local diner introducing me to his construction buddies. "This is my daughter Stephanie," he said with unmistakable pride. "She runs that tech company downtown. She's developed some kind of artificial intelligence system that's revolutionizing the hotel business." The terms weren't quite right, but the pride in his voice was unmistakable. This gradual thawing in our relationship coincided with a major business decision. After extensive discussions with my executive team and advisors, I accepted TechVision's acquisition offer with specific conditions. The final deal valued Digital Edge at $300 million, with provisions ensuring our team remained intact and our Whitefish headquarters continued operations. The acquisition provided resources to scale our technology globally while maintaining our company culture and Montana presence. My personal share of the deal exceeded $75 million after taxes, wealth beyond anything I'd imagined when starting my fake internet job a decade earlier. Financial security allowed me to consider what truly mattered for my next chapter. During a weekend retreat at my Malibu home with David, I shared an idea that had been forming since the Thanksgiving confrontation. "I'm thinking of starting a new venture," I told him as we watched the sunset over the Pacific. "Not another marketing platform, but something more aligned with what I've learned about myself." The concept was Digital Foundations, an organization dedicated to bringing technology education and entrepreneurship resources to small towns across America. We would start in places like Whitefish, where traditional industries were changing, and young people often felt they needed to leave to pursue tech careers. It's about building bridges between the physical and digital worlds, I explained, helping traditional craftspeople and businesses leverage technology while creating opportunities for the next generation. David supported the vision enthusiastically. It honors both worlds, your father's and yours. The first Digital Foundations Center opened in downtown Whitefish 6 months later. We renovated an old warehouse, creating a modern facility with co-working space, technology training classrooms, and small business incubation resources. To my surprise, Dad offered to help with the renovation, volunteering his construction expertise. Working alongside him on a physical project created new bonds between us. He suggested practical improvements to our plans, while I showed him how technology would be integrated throughout the facility. During the planning phase, Dad made an unexpected proposal. Your organization needs workshop space, he said, sketching a layout on graph paper. For people who want to build physical products but use your digital tools for design or marketing, the suggestion was brilliant, a tangible bridge between traditional craftsmanship and digital innovation. We added a makerspace with woodworking tools, 3D printers, and CNC machines, allowing entrepreneurs to prototype physical products while learning digital skills. Mom's pride in our collaboration was evident. You two are more alike than either of you realized, she observed one evening, as we reviewed the center's plans at their dining table. The grand opening of Digital Foundations attracted community-wide attention. Local businesses, schools, and government officials attended the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Dad stood beside me on the stage, visibly proud as I explained our mission to bring technology opportunities to rural communities while honoring traditional skills and values. In the months that followed, the center's impact exceeded our expectations. Local businesses participated in digital marketing workshops, increasing their reach beyond Montana. High school students learned coding and entrepreneurship skills. Craftspeople discovered how technology could help market their creations globally. Dad became an unexpected advocate, encouraging his construction industry colleagues to explore the center's resources. The world's changing, he'd tell them. Better to understand these tools than be left behind. Our personal reconciliation wasn't perfect. Occasionally, old patterns emerged. His skepticism about certain technologies, or my defensiveness when feeling questioned. But now we had a foundation of mutual respect and a shared project that leveraged both our strengths. David and I became engaged that winter. His understanding of both my entrepreneurial drive and my complex family dynamics made him the perfect partner. When he proposed on Christmas Eve at my parents' home, Dad offered a toast that brought tears to my eyes. To Stephanie, he said, raising his glass, who taught this old builder that not all valuable things can be touched with your hands. As Digital Foundations expanded to 3 more rural communities across Montana and Wyoming, I reflected often on the journey that had brought me here. The business I'd built partially to prove my father wrong had ultimately led to a deeper understanding between us. The most profound lesson wasn't about business success or financial validation. It was the realization that healing relationships matters more than proving yourself right. My $38 million net worth hadn't brought me peace, but honest conversation and mutual understanding had. Success means different things to different generations. My father measured it in buildings constructed and tangible assets acquired. I had measured it in company valuations and digital innovation. We had both been partly right and partly wrong. True success, I now understand, includes creating value in ways that align with your talents while honoring the wisdom of those who came before you. It means building bridges rather than proving points. It means recognizing that validation from others, even parents, can never replace self-acceptance and purpose. If you're watching this and struggling with family members who don't understand your dreams or career path, I hope my story offers some perspective. The technology gap between generations is real, but the human need for understanding and respect transcends any industry or era. What aspects of my journey resonated with you? Have you experienced similar challenges with family members who don't understand your work or ambitions? Share your stories in the comments. I read them all and find incredible wisdom in this community's experiences. If this story helped you in any way, please like and subscribe to support more authentic conversations about entrepreneurship, family dynamics, and finding your path. And don't forget to share with someone who might need to hear that their work has value, even if not everyone understands it yet. Thank you for allowing me to share this deeply personal journey with you. Remember that your worth isn't determined by others' understanding of what you do, but healing those relationships might be the greatest success of all.